following program is available in high definition on Channel 700. This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Cogeco.
Thank you for joining us today for Council Matters. The Municipal Act says that all municipal power is exercised only by council by resolution. As mayor and a member of council, that means I have one vote, 1/13 of municipal power, and none of it gets to be exercised except in a proper council meeting. But we need a lot of intake from the community in order to exercise that power well and in the best interests of the town. Today, we're going to talk about the downtown renewal work that the staff are doing and that council has ordered up. And with us are Nick Bourikas, who's the president of Canadian Sound and serves as the chair of the Downtown Business Improvement Area, Sharlene Plewman, who's the executive director of the BIA, and David Mallen, who's the president of Trafalgar Chartwell Residents Associations. Thanks very much for joining us today. Nick, as the chair, what is the BIA's members saying about this work by the town? Is it something that you have wanted and you're glad we're finally doing? Is it something that looks like a pest and an annoyance? What's the pulse?
Well, I'd like to start by thanking you for having both myself and Sharlene from the BIA as guests today. In respect to most people, most members are apprehensive with the work that's being proposed. They have great concerns about the disruption to business that it will cause. On the other hand, they're also very hopeful of the outcome and looking forward to having a more vibrant, more attractive downtown core.
Yeah, I should explain for the viewers that what's at foot here is the foundations of Lakeshore Road and the village have crumbled, and they're more than 50 years old. They need to be rebuilt, and that's a very disruptive piece of construction. And we've attempted twice before, council has, to get that work going, and in response to the dismay of the business community, put it off as long as we could now. So we now know that we need to do it in 2016, and at a conference I learned that the Roncesvalles Business District went through the same thing several years ago and took the opportunity to talk the City of Toronto into making streetscape improvements that would make the district more attractive, attract more people, and improve business. And indeed, according to the business people there, that's exactly what happened. And so, Sharlene, have your members been at all comforted by the prospect that, you know, the we went through it and this is what happened aspect of Roncesvalles?
I think to a certain extent, yes, they have. It's difficult, I think, for people to see outside of their situation and connect the dots. Different times, different economic climate, different volumes of people coming through that area versus here. So they see some challenges, but I think they're also hopeful. They see how nice Roncesvalles looks now and the prosperity it's seeing. So that's obviously a hopeful sign. And just to see that they've been through it, we can learn from them. How did they best do the construction? How did they mitigate the interruption that the construction could have? So seeing that someone's been there, done that, and such close neighbors, and that they're willing to share with us what they learned and what they would do differently, that provides some comfort.
And one of the big lessons council had from the previous goes is we learned to give more notice. We've never given such long notice. I mean, we started this in December of 2013, and the target is 2016. David, in Roncesvalles, the business community had to recruit the neighborhood associations around them to join them in fighting to get the City of Toronto to do the streetscape improvements on top of what was otherwise just a normal road reconstruction. And to get that benefit, they had to engage the neighbors. Here, the council and the town are offering it already, so you don't have to fight with us to get it. But have you and the other downtown relating residents associations been much engaged with the BIA?
Yes, Rob, we have undertaken a program of reaching out to the BIA and also the Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with Lakeside Residents Association. The two residents associations are the two that are represented in downtown Oakville. And the reason for our reaching out has been a recognition that there are some existing problems there, unloading, parking issues, and that there are concerns in our community about the overall health of the commercial sector downtown Oakville. We want to see a vibrant, healthy community. We recognize that there are challenges that the community are facing at the present time, whether it's competing areas or whether it's internet shopping or whatever, high rents. And we certainly understand these concerns and have reached out to the BIA to find ways in which we can work with them and support them to help generate this vibrant community that we all seek in downtown.
Now, David, one of the questions that every merchant in the downtown area must face every day is how can I get more people to come to shop what we, in the English tradition, would call our high street, right? So you're a resident, you live nearby. I dare say that it's safe to say you live within walking distance. What advice would you have for the merchants in terms of what to do with this opportunity? What should be done, if anything, to the streetscape? Should we put it back the way it is, or should we add, what should we add or change?
Given that the work has to be done on Lakeshore Road for subsurface foundations and sewer and water work, it presents an opportunity to recast the streetscape in a way that can be attractive to all of the users. One of the problems with the streetscape, of course, is that there are conflicting uses. There are suppliers that need to unload supplies from trucks. There is parking that is needed close to the stores, and there are pedestrian needs and bicycling needs. All of these people would like to use Lakeshore Road downtown, but the needs conflict. The challenge that we face and the town faces in reconstructing Lakeshore Road is to find solutions which represent ways of coping with all of these conflicting uses. One of the ways to do that is by looking at the time. During the week it may be appropriate to have part of the road closed off for merchants' benefits, so that it would be more attractive for pedestrians to shop there. Another part of the time it may be appropriate to designate it for unloading supplies to the stores. And that may represent one approach to managing these conflicting uses. This has yet all to be sorted out, but at the end of the day, what will attract people to downtown Oakville, not just from the immediate area, but from the surrounding communities, is a pleasant walking and shopping experience with good selection of stores and a vibrant feel to the community down there.
Now, for any of you, the information that the Roncesvalles people gave us was that the input from their community was very important in designing the new streetscape, and that the community around wanted a more engaging streetscape with more street furniture and wider sidewalks and just more reasons, more physical ability and reasons to go and spend time there. And this seems to have translated into better business, according to, or more business for the businesses. So in terms of what we have there and how we're using the space on the street, I want to ask each of you, should we put it back the way it is? Should we put it back with some difference? And if it's the same, no problem. And if it's different, I'll ask you, what would you change? Let's start with you, Nick.
Well, I know what I'd like the end result to be. How to get there, I'm not exactly sure. And I guess this is the whole process we're going through right now. Definitely need to make a change. with an eye on 2057 and what we should be looking like in 2057. I agree with everything that David said earlier. Just to add a little bit to it, one of the things that I look at as from the business perspective community, I look at our competitors, and I don't look at other downtown cores as competitors. I look at the shopping districts, like large malls, like malls, what have you. And one of the things that I recognize is that we can't compete from a shopping perspective with a mall. Our spaces are too small. We don't have controlled environments, restrooms, the whole lot. So typically, on the other hand, when you go to a mall, it's a box. You go in, you park, you shop, and you leave, and it's a nothing experience. I think Downtown Oakville offers the exact opposite of that, and I think any streetscape improvements we make should continue to push that envelope to make it that much more attractive. And then as a business person or as a merchant, it's our job to connect that dot between that traffic that's there and turning it into some sort of revenue.
So is there any particular change you'd like? Like, should the public spaces be bigger? Should the sidewalks look different? Should there be more benches? Should there be more trees? What would help?
The one thing that I focus on is our square is underutilized at the moment. I think it's too small. I don't think we're using it. Outside of events that perhaps the BIA runs occasionally, it's not used a whole lot.
So,
and I think we need
the mall is, the square is too small. Sharlene, what about you? Any changes that people are asking for?
I think that the changes that people are looking for are mixed. They're wanting to, yes, see more outdoor spaces. I think more patios. I hear that from merchants and the customers that come through and our visitors, that more outdoor, more patio space. However, we have winter. Fortunately, this one has been a long one. And so you have to balance that. Are you losing other things for the sake of gaining something for a few months? So I think more outdoor space is great. I think more areas for people to gather up and down the street. So as you mentioned, things like benches, places for them to feel comfortable to sit and spend some time. I think if the streetscape changes could make the fact that we do have a lot of parking options downtown more easily accessible, easy to find and to reach. There is a lot of options there, but I think if we could showcase them a bit better with the streetscape changes, that would be great as well. And if we can balance some of these needs, we have, unfortunately, buildings that are fixed in place, so something's going to have to go when something gets added. So a way to balance these needs is really what they're primarily looking for amongst all of these changes.
Well, let's take a few extra minutes here to explore this with the man who is here for the residents, David. What physical changes, if any, would make the residents of Oakville more likely to spend more time and hopefully more money in the downtown business area?
Rob, I think there are two key themes that need to be recognized in thinking about the new streetscape along downtown. The first one is that we need to reflect the essence of downtown Old Oakville. That means thinking about access to the riverfront, access to the lakefront, and simply reflecting that historical character which is so unique in Old Oakville. And that to me means physically thinking about the design of the street so there's more pedestrian access, wider sidewalks, some solution to the loading and parking problems which respect the old historical culture. The second theme is that, in my opinion, and I am not any retailer or expert on retailing, but it has to be something which represents, from a shopping perspective, whatever the opposite of a mall experience is. And that to me sounds like it probably means boutique shops, restaurants, which are doing quite well, many of them in downtown, and a unique family-type experience which people can go out and have a meal, have a drink in a patio, and enjoy the experience and shop at the same time.
And finally, from a resident's perspective, we have in our capital budget the money to rebuild the street. This is not an issue, but in terms of systemic changes like how we operate downtown, many merchants are asking me, why can't parking be free? And the answer is we use parking revenue to pay for parking infrastructure. And if we were to have free parking, we would have to raise taxes, maybe as much as 1%. How would that land with residents?
I don't think residents would be supportive of tax increases at the present time. Many people are feeling stressed still financially, and everything that I've heard and read indicates that tax increases would probably not sit too well. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity in this redesign of the streetscape and the traffic situation in downtown to rethink the whole parking issue and to find better solutions than seem to exist at the moment. The needs of the merchants certainly have to be taken into consideration, but there are spaces which may be more accessible immediately behind Lakeshore Road, and those kinds of issues need to be further addressed, both by the merchants and ourselves and the Residents Association and of course the town.
Well, thanks very much for starting the ball rolling for this show's topic. And in just a second, we'll be back with 3 members of council, and we will discuss what we can possibly do about these things. We're joined now by 3 members of council. Jeff Knoll is the councillor for the town and the region from the north central part of Oakville, which we call Ward 5. Pam Damoff is the town councillor for the south central part of Oakville, which we call Ward 2. And Dave Gittings is the southeast part of town, town councillor, and that's Ward 3. When you were listening to the folks on the early part of the show talking about our work on the streetscape and the downtown renewal, what were your reactions? Pam, I imagine you were pretty pleased. Look I see your bike pen. They mentioned bikes unaided without any prompting.
I was happy to hear that. I was also happy to hear that we were talking about downtown being a place for people. I think we need to remember that places are for people and roads are for vehicles. So to have the discussion about making it a place for people to come, especially incorporating bike lanes, is definitely important in that whole vision of what downtown can be.
Now, I've been tweeting a lot of pointers at sources that have a lot of information about what the planning world is calling placemaking, and you set that up perfectly with your remark. And really, that's what we're engaged in here. Jeff, you run a theater. You're engaged in the people business of business. What's your sense of what it would take to make a people place in the downtown area? Well, I think that there's a lesson to be taken from shopping malls and other places of amusement, and it's all about creating opportunities in addition to the primary focus, which is shopping. So whether it be relaxation, entertainment, any kind of animation on the street, I think those are all things that are necessary to maintain the downtown core as a competitive alternative to shopping malls and shopping plazas. We certainly have a good variety of stores and interesting shops for people to come to, and wonderful restaurants. Sadly, no theater down there. I think creating more opportunities for people to simply enjoy the experience of shopping. I mean, shopping by itself is one of the top recreation activities that we have. So creating additional reasons to go shopping, whether it simply be to take in an impromptu concert, have a place to read a book, have a place to hang out with your kids. I think those are the sorts of things that people are looking for.
Dave, in your long career in advertising and marketing with the Toronto Star, you must have had a thought or two about how to make businesses succeed. And, your residents in the southeast part of town are some of the primary customers for the downtown area. What are you hearing? What are your thoughts?
Thanks, Rob. I spent 30 years working with retailers, and I have the utmost respect. They have skin in the game. It's a tough business, especially these days. As the other councillor said, we need a place where people can get to easily, where they want to spend time, where they can sit down on benches or a wider sidewalk, cafes or restaurants or coffee places. The longer people spend there, the more they'll be engaged and the more they'll go into the shops. We have some incredible stores and shopkeepers, and they provide great service. So if we can help residents stay there longer, they'll be spending more money.
So in terms of animating the downtown, a word Jeff used, which I think is a really important word here, Pam, besides riding your bike in there and walking, and which would imply using some of the space for bike lanes, some of the space for bike parking, perhaps a wider, easier walking area, what sort of animation ideas have you in mind?
Well, if we slow down, as the other councillors were saying, if we slow down what people are doing when they're downtown, just by default they're going to spend more time in the area and they're going to look around. And it's so natural. People want to be active today. They want to be outside. That's something they can't do in a mall. So if we make it a destination where they can be, even in the winter, I realize we have a challenging winter here, but there are communities that are even further north than we are that engage people to come into the outdoors. If you look at places like Montreal and Ottawa, where you have winter carnivals that draw thousands of people into the community. So the fact that it's cold here shouldn't deter us from encouraging people to be outside and be part of the downtown or part of any of our business areas. But I think it's great that we're talking about it, and I think we'll generate a vision for what we can do downtown. It's a fabulous process we're going through right now.
I think we've already improved snow clearing in the downtown, and I think there's a ways to go. I'm personally starting to feel we have to commit to an even a really customized snow clearing job down there. We almost have to think of ourselves as the managers of a mall, just an open air mall, and try to make it even more attractive during winter. I was in a snowbank yesterday feeding the meter and thinking, this can't be good for some people.
Well, and it's a matter of just making it a priority, right? I mean, there are communities that plow their bike lanes before they plow their streets in order to encourage people to ride their bikes in the winter. If we want people walking downtown, you're absolutely right. We need to look at how the snow clearing is done so that you can get around safely and easily when you're walking on the sidewalks and being in the community. So,
Dave? Do you have any sense of where we're going? I mean, you must know that the malls are also suffering, and the internet is eating into some forms of retail. Anything you can get online, people seem to prefer to go there. So what kind of businesses can we look forward to populating our business areas, and our malls for that matter? It's going to have to be the kind that you get something that you can't get online.
Well, we're getting a lot of feedback. It's as well as the BIA members, we're getting an incredible amount of feedback from residents in terms of what they would like to see. And the public, or the people that are spending the money, I think they're offering some good suggestions. Further to Councillor Pam's comment, whether it be the BIA Olympic event or the skating rink down in Town Square, it shows that people are willing to go out in the cold and have some fun and spend some time.
How do you feel about the proposition of enlarging Town Square up George Street and changing the use of the streets? Another street change that's being discussed in the work is changing from having one-way streets to two-way streets. The theory of one-way streets is you move people through faster. Is there any validity to the idea that if you slow traffic down, it becomes sticky and it stops and shops? Jeff?
I think it absolutely that is the case. I mean, it's using an example from other kind of retail experiences when you can slow down and enjoy the experience as opposed to simply being rushed along. You're able to people watch, window shop, or participate in the activities downtown. So speed is definitely an issue. But I just want to draw on an interesting point you had asked Dave about a second ago. One of the things about the industry that I've been so involved in is that when movie theaters went from almost the point where they were considered dead to the point where they are now once again revitalized, one of the things that happened in the industry is that there were more activities brought into the theater. So you made it more of an experience. I see that as an example that downtown cores can use. Whereas in the old days you went to the movie and you went home, now you go to the movie, you might play some games, you have to sit down and have a bite to eat. It becomes more of a social interaction experience. I think that a lot of retailers have found that, the booksellers, et cetera, have found that to be a useful exercise. And I think downtowns could do that too, where you can make it a multiple activity experience for the whole family, to bring them down, keep them down. And that competes with the internet. So if you want to buy a widget, you just really want it quickly, you can order it on the internet. If you want to buy a widget but you want to enjoy the experience and maybe pick up a couple other items along the way, then having another reason to go I think is important.
Yeah, when my wife goes shopping, she calls it foraging.
Yeah,
she has what she wants to get, and there's other stuff too.
But it is the number. It's within the top couple, if not the number one recreational activity out there. So we need to find ways to embrace that and actually make sure we maintain that in Oakville.
Dave?
Well, one of the concerns I have, we have been hearing a lot about the transportation being sticky. My concern is I don't want to frustrate people as they drive through and prevent them from coming back. I'd rather Lakeshore, the activities and the benches and the bump outs be sticky, so people will get there and stay visiting the stores on Lakeshore. I don't want to frustrate them through the traffic.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Pam, do you have any last thoughts? We're just about out of time.
Well, I actually wouldn't mind commenting on what Dave had just been saying, because putting bike lanes in Fort Worth, Texas on Magnolia Street saw restaurant sales go up 179%. Wow. So it's proven in communities when you do slow down and make things sticky, people do stay. So I think we need to look at a vision for downtown and really not just look at the road, and look at a vision to make people come down and make it an experience that they want to repeat time and again.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Council Matters. As you can see, we have a lot on our plate and a lot to consider. And with your input, we are always hopeful of making the best possible decision for you.